Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for my October TBR. So October is going to be a busy month in terms of reading, but very varied, which I'm really excited about. So the first book that I'm going to be reading is a buddy read with a couple of other lovely booktubers, Tracy from Flamingo Reads and Amanda from Amanda J, and we're going to be reading The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I'm really excited to get in and try some Anne Bronte, and the story sounds like it's going to be a good one. It says on the back, this sensational, hard-hitting and passionate tale of marital cruelty sees a mysterious new tenant at Wildfell Hall. Helen Graham unmasked not as a wicked woman as the local gossips would have it, but as the estranged wife of a brutal alcoholic bully desperate to protect her son. Using her own experiences with her brother Branwell to depict the cruelty and debauchery from which Helen flees, Anne Bronte wrote her masterpiece to reflect the fragile position of women in society and her belief in universal redemption. So I'm really excited to be reading this with the girls and to be discussing it. Next up, I'm going to be reading some science fiction stories. Most of these I'm going to be buddy reading with the lovely Caitlin at Kitty G, because she's doing a science fiction October, or a sci-fi and a space and sci-fi October, but I'm going to be reading some with her and some I've just picked off my shelf that I want to read myself. The first is The Long Dark Dusk by J.P. Smythe. This is book 2, with the first one being Way Down Dark, which I really enjoyed, so I'm very lucky that the publisher sent me a copy of this a while back, and I really must get to it because I'm really excited to see where this story takes us. The original story is set on a spaceship, and it's set in a sort of very dystopian-y type atmosphere where there's lots of hierarchy and there's lots of sort of dodgy deals going on and bad people, and it's the story of our protagonist finding a way to find out what's going on and uncover secrets and the usual type of thing. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't want to say too much, but this will follow on from where that last book finished off, and I can't wait. So then these next 4 books I'm going to be reading with Caitlin. The first one is Roboteer by Alex Lamb. It's a story, I think, of it's set in a time where people who live in the wastes have genetically modified themselves with technology in order to survive, and then there's sort of a religious group of people who believe that everybody that have done that are heathens and heretics, and this is a war between those two different types of people, and it just sounds really fun and I really can't wait to try this. Next up is 2312 by Kim Stanley Robinson. This looks really exciting. It says the year is 2312. Scientific and technological advances have opened gateways to an extraordinary future. Earth is no longer humanity's only home. New habitats have been created throughout the solar system, on moons, planets and in between. But in this year 2312, a sequence of events will force humanity to confront its past, its present and its future. And then the next 2 books are books 1 and 2 in a series. The first is Time Bomb by Scott K. Andrews, and the second is Second Lives by Scott K. Andrews. So I won't look at the second one because I don't want to spoil myself, but the first one says, Cornwall 1640, gentle young Dora Predenick, newly come to Sweet Clover Hall to work, discovers a badly burnt woman at the bottom of a flight of stairs. When she reaches out to comfort the dying woman, she's flung through time. On a rainy night in present-day Cornwall, 17-year-old Kaz Checker sneaks into the long-abandoned Sweet Clover Hall in search of a dry place to sleep. Instead, she finds a frightened housemaid who believes Charles I is king, and an angry girl who claims to come from the future. Thrust into the centre of a war that spans millennia, Dora, Kaz and Jana must learn to harness powers they barely understand to escape not only villainous Lord Sweetclover, but the forces of a fanatical army, all the while staying one step ahead of a mysterious woman known only as Quill. I think this just sounds like it's going to be a rip-roaring adventure, so I'm excited to read all of those with Kate. Next up, there's quite a lot of books here, but I'm not going to tell you anything about them because I will be doing separate videos, but I'm going to be taking part in Own Voices October. If you haven't seen the announcement video on Katie from Katie Loves to Read, then I will link the channel down below. But herself and Mel from Books with Wings have decided to set up a sort of readathon, but it's a month-long readathon, and it's called Own Own Voices October. So Katie very eloquently says in her video that Own Voices October is about putting emphasis on reading books by own voice authors. So these are authors that are writing, who are part of a minority, who are writing, and their main protagonist is also part of that minority, and so they're writing from own voices, from own perspective. So I have looked on both their list of recommended books, and I've also looked up some other own voices books on Goodreads, and so I looked on my shelves, and as it happens I have a lot of own voices books. So I picked them all off my shelf, and I'm going to be just reading as many of these as I can through the month. So I'm just going to go through them quickly now. The first one is When We Collided by Emery Lord. This is a YA contemporary. Next up, I've got Born Confused by Tanuja Desai Hidia. This is also a YA contemporary. Next up, I have Shelter by Young Jun, and this is an adult literary fiction. I have The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This is a fantasy story. Next up, I have Run by Cody Keplinger. This is a YA contemporary. I have The Wrath and the Dawn by Renée Ahdieh. This is a YA fantasy. And Everything Leads to You by Lena LaCour, and this is a YA / new adult, but I think YA contemporary. And I have Point by Brandy Colbert, and this is a YA contemporary. I also have two other books which I'm waiting for to arrive currently, and they are Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera and On the Edge of Gone by Corinne Duvis. I'm really excited to be taking part in this and to be reading some books by own author voices, and so I'm really excited to be sharing them with you. I'll tell you more about the synopsis and the plot of those books in my weekly wrap-ups as and when I get to them. Let me know if you've read any of these, which ones you recommend starting out with. I hope you're really looking forward to your reading month of October like me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now.